All right, so really quick, I'm going to be showing you how to identify significant figures in a number. I'm not going to go over the math on how to use sig fig rules. I'm going to compile that with a scientific notation math video. So we're just going to keep this on identifying significant figures. Now, when I say sig figs, we're talking about basically numbers or digits in a number that are important and significant to us, especially in science. Believe it or not, every number in or every digit in a number may not actually be important. To be specific, really, it's only the zeros that we have to question. What I mean by this, let's say that I have an example of a number like let's see, I guess 101 will do. So let's say we're talking about the number 101. If you have the number 101, I'm asking you which of the three digits in that number, which ones are actually important for what we need to do in chemistry or any scientific math class. Okay? So is the first one in 101 important? Is that significant? Is the zero significant? Is this one significant? Or are none of them significant? Which ones do we need to know? Which ones are necessary for our calculations? That's the type of questions we're trying to ask here and answer. All right, so for the four situations we're going to discuss, it is whether you have a digit that is between 1 through 9, and then whether you have a zero and where the zeros are. The first little note that I have here says non-zeros. So basically we're talking about numbers, digits 1 through 9. So if you are a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or a 9, then you are significant. It doesn't matter. There's no disclaimer to it. Just if you are 1 through 9, you're important. So example, if I have the number 321, the number 3 is important. It's insignificant. It is significant. The number 2 is significant, and the number 1 is significant because they're numbers that are not zeros. Okay, so pretty much any integer, any number besides 0 is important. Now, does that mean that zeros are never important? No, zeros are important, but it depends on where they are. So that's why we have the three situations here. We have leading zeros, sandwiched zeros, and trailing zeros. So let's look at leading zeros. First of all, a leading zero is never significant. I don't care what the situation is. Well, if you hear some noise, it's because it's raining. What is a leading zero? A zero that is leading is a zero that is in the front of a number, at the front of some type of figure, okay? An example would be, and usually it's going to be some type of decimal number. An example would be like 0.002. In the number 0.002, you have 3 zeros leading the front of this number, and then there's a 2. Well, non-zeros are always significant. So the number 2 is not a zero. It is significant. So right now we have one significant figure in this number. The 3 zeros in the front, they're leading. The rule is leading zeros are never significant. So it doesn't matter how many zeros there are, okay? If you're in the front, if you're a zero and you're in the front, you're leading, you're not important. Bye-bye, okay? That's how that works, all right? And there's no if, ands, or buts about it. Moving on to the next. What if you are what we call a sandwiched zero? A sandwiched zero would be a zero that is literally sandwiched in between two numbers. Let's say an example would be 101, like 101 Dalmatians, okay? Well, it's kind of like people. If you are not popular, but you hang around two popular people, that kind of would make you start to become a little bit more popular. Or if you hang around a bunch of athletes, you're not really an athlete, then people might assume that you are an athlete because you're hanging around two people who are athletes. You kind of are whoever you associate with. So when it comes to sig figs and zeros, zeros in the front are not important. That's why I got that X'd out. Zeros in the front are not important. But zeros that are sandwiched actually are important. They are significant. Okay, so in the number 101, you have a non-zero number, which is 1. It is significant. There's another 1 that's significant. And the 0 that is sandwiched in between, he is significant because he is sandwiched in between. So in the number 101, there are 3 significant figures. The 1, the 0, and the 1. That's 3 things that are significant. 3 numbers that are significant. Okay. Let's look at another example of this. So that's different than leading zeros. Zeros in the front, but bam, I just see you in the front. Nah, you a 0, you suck. I don't like you. You're not significant, okay? Oh, but there's a 1 coming into the club and there's a 0 behind it and another 1 behind that. That 0 in the middle must be important. So that 0 becomes significant just because it's in between. All right. What if you have like a bunch of zeros in between? Let's say you have 4 and then you have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4. You have a 4 that's significant in the front and you have a 4 that is significant in the back. So I don't care how many zeros you bring into the club, since they in between 2 important things, that makes them important. So 4 is significant. 4 is significant. And I guess them zeros in between are now significant too then, because they're sandwiched in between. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 significant figures, 6 numbers in there that are significant to me. All right, that's how sandwiched zeros work. Okay, let's look at another example though. What if I have 0.0101? So here I'm combining situation 2 and situation 3. In situation 2, we're talking about leading zeros, and leading zeros are never important. So we got this 0 at the front, you're not important. Here's another 0 in the front, you're not important. Here's a 1, you're important. The other one is important, and there's a 0 in between that makes that 0 important. So there are only 3 numbers in this number that are significant. The 1, 0, 1. The 2 zeros in the front that are leading are not important because they're leading. If you want to be important, you should have gotten in the middle. You should have been sandwiched. All right? That's how that works. Now, the last situation, trailing zeros. So these are zeros that are in the back of a number. You're trailing behind. You're in the back. Okay? Like the number, what is going on here? Like the number 1,000 or 100. Let's just do 100. So trailing, we're talking about zeros in the back. So are they important? There are 2 situations in which we must consider for this. Okay? So I hate to make it seem a little bit more complicated. We can have 100, right? Or we can have a number like 100.0. So both of these pretty much look like they're 100, but one of them is just 100 and the other one's 100.0. Okay, if I have $100 or if I have $100.0, that's the same amount, right? What's the difference between these 2 numbers? One has a decimal and one does not. The one with the decimal seems a bit more accurate, right? If you owe me $100, if you tell me... Oh. Teachers. Sorry, the announcements came on. If you tell me that I owe you $100, okay, I might bring you like 99 or 98. I might forget. I don't know. It just seems kind of, I kind of roundabout. I owe you about $100, right? Okay, but if you give me a receipt that says I owe you $100.0, that seems a bit more exact, a bit more accurate and exact. I owe you precisely $100.0, not a cent more, not a cent less. Okay, so when you put that decimal in there, that kind of makes the number seem more official, more exact. Okay, you owe me $100.0 versus saying you just owe me $100. Okay, it's 2 different ways of approaching how serious the number is. So when it comes to sig figs, and we're talking about zeros, the ones in the back, Zeros are not important in the back. But if there is a decimal, that will make the zeros in the back important. Okay? So in the case of the number 100, since there are no decimals in this number, the trailing zeros are not significant. The 1 is always significant. It's not a 0. Remember, zeros have situations we have to cover, but if you are a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or a 9, you are always significant no matter what, okay, just automatically. So in the number 100, there's only one, I'm trying to draw an equal sign, there's only one significant figure, and that's the 1 here, okay? If you had the number 4,000, 4 is the only significant number, the only significant figure, okay? But what if you have the number 100.0? Since we have a decimal there now, that makes the zeros in the back now important because it's like all official and stuff, okay? 100.0, well, that makes it exact, so we care now about the zeros in the back. So the 1 was important. It always is important. But now, because of the decimal, these zeros become important. So we have 4 numbers here that are important in this number, okay? What if I had the number 400.0000? Gosh, man, that's a whole bunch of zeros. You may think they don't mean jack squat, and they may not to you. But since there's a decimal there, that tells me that this number is very exact. It's 400.0000, not 400.0001. No, it's 400.0000. The decimal lets you know how exact the number needs to be. So that means the zeros are important to me. So 4 is important, and 0 is important. 0, 0, 0, 0, and that one too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers here that I have check marked that are important. And that's how sig figs work. Okay? So you have 4 situations. Do you have a non-zero? If you have a number between 1 and 9, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. They are important always and forever. If you have a 0 leading the front, they're never important. We don't care about you. If you are a 0 stuck in between some stuff that's important, then that makes you important too. If you are a 0 at the back, you're only important if there's a decimal. Okay? So one more example to wrap this up, because I am supposed to be doing some other stuff right now. Let's look at, really quick, let's say I have 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, 0. 0.321. And then 3, 2, 0. Oh, no. Ooh, I don't like that. You know what? Let's just be funny. I don't have my stylus. I have to use my finger to actually write this stuff, and I don't like this at all. Let's just... some of you are probably like, she's wasting my time here. Okay. 0.3030. All right. So let's go ahead and grade these numbers, whether they are significant or not. 321. 3 is significant. 2 is significant. 1 is significant. So how many sig figs? There are 3. The number 3,210. 3 is significant always. 2 is significant again. 1 is significant. Now here we have a 0 at the back. What is that called? A trailing 0. When a trailing 0 is important, if there's a decimal to make it seem like the number's exact. Is there a decimal here? Nope. So you're not important. So there's only 3 sig figs here. What about the number 0.321? Of course, again, 3 is significant, 2 is significant, 1 is significant. We got a 0 in the front. What do we call that? Leading zeros. No, I ain't care about no PS4. Man, I'm trying to teach. We have a 0 in the front. Leading zeros. Are leading zeros ever important to us? Nope. Nope, never. And what about this last number? We got 0.3030. Threes are always significant. I mean, if you're 1 through 9, you're important. It's the zeros that we have to worry about. Man, dude, like, shouldn't you be at work right now? But I don't know. I don't even know what the hell he does for a job. Are leading zeros important ever? No, they're not. Okay, so no, you're not important. Here's a zero that's in between two important numbers. That makes you important. Okay, bing, bing. There we go. And we have a zero in the back. Are zeros in the back, trailing zeros, important? They are important if and only if what? There's a decimal. Is there a decimal in this number? Yes, it is. So there's actually 4 sig figs in that number. And that's it. Let me see what the hell this boy talking about.